Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the newly numbered episode 301 of Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze. I am your host and six-time WWA World Heavyweight Champion of the lower 48 Western States guy, Professor Jeremy Vilmer. And joining us now, the only man to ever hold the six-man tag team titles of the United States and the National Wrestling Organization, Bobby Blaze. What's happening, Bobby?
Hey, Cecil, you're not the creeper, man. My God, look at our accolades on here. Yes, we've done it, man. We made it to 2020, so welcome to all of our fans and our listeners of 2020 there, Professor, and the world champion of the lower 48, and look at us. We got them six-man tag titles. I can't believe we done it.
I know. Look at us go.
I don't know her. Tex, guess what? You're a champion, pal.
Yeah. Well, this week, Bobby, I don't know if anybody could tell, but we're doing an episode called Bad for Business, Imposters, Frauds, and Charlatans.
Oh, man, it's going to be fun.
Yes. That is why I have conflated our title reigns to be slightly larger than they actually were.
Okay, yeah, things in the mirror, appear. Well, anyway, you know what, Mike? I'm going to do this. We might have to say an F word today, and I'm not talking about fuck, but if you say that word fake, God, do you kiss your mother, fat mouth? You know what I'm saying? We might have to, every time, let's do this, for, Spark South, Third Coast out there. And for you, instead of the E word, if we say the F word, hot, we're going to spit. I might spit on my fucking carpet. I don't know, but we may use the F word, and I'm talking about fake. Tui. Oh man, yeah, we'll have fun with this.
Yeah, I hope so. Before we get started and before we lay our ground rules, because God forbid we ever do a show that doesn't have to have rules.
Yeah.
Let's
the other F word.
Let's get into a couple little news bits, shout outs, and that sort of thing. And first off, I think we want to say congratulations to somebody from FTC Wrestling.
Oh yeah, hey, Casey King, man, he became the FTC Heavyweight Champion last night at a show in Ironton, Ohio, here in the tri-state area. So Casey's is a really good guy, a real good up-and-comer, and just a really good person, human being, Professor. And man, I see the guy in the gym working hard. I've known him for a couple of years now. I've seen him training to become a better craftsman in the business. He respects the business. He respects other people in the business, and he doesn't know I'm going to do this, but hey, congratulations, Casey King. So thank you so much, Professor, for bringing that up. That's a big shout out right there.
Yes, absolutely. Congratulations, Casey. Way to go. Pretty awesome friend of the show there. Casey's been with us since just about the beginning of this podcast.
Yeah, think so.
Yeah, so awesome. Way to go, Casey. All right. I'm going to do my last shout out. I'm going to do my two shout outs last because one of them goes directly into the theme of the show.
Okay, great.
But let's go ahead and, we got one of your locals over there. Let's give a shout out to Tom over at Ironhead's Hardcore Gym.
Yeah, man. I go to the Tommy over there at Ironheads. The nutrition, they got a nice gym down in South Shore, Kentucky, but the nutrition facility is here in Ashland. And, Tom, if you're listening, I know he's a fan of the podcast. We want to give a shout out to his business. I've bought nutritional supplements from him throughout the year. Got some CBD oil from him, actually lotion, the last purchase from a friend of mine. Hey, Melanie, get your feet off the fucking couch, would you? God damn it, it's cold. Aren't your feet cold? Something, honey, please. Maybe we've got some CBD oil and lotion. And, man, he's just got I know it's supposed to be a shout out, shouldn't be a F word and cuss a Melody or whatever. But, man, they got some nutrition stuff to help you, all your nutritional needs. Good people, man, him and his wife, Donna. So there you go, Tom. Big shout out to Ironhead's Gym. I know he's out there pumping out iron. He's a big, strong guy, man, and all because of his nutrition and his training. And it's a pleasure to welcome him on board, hopefully, in the future. And we'll just give him a shout out right now.
Yeah, at Ironheads, hardcoregym.com, and Ironheads is with a Z at the end. So Ironheads.
Yes.
hardcoregym.com. Go give Tom a look. And I'm sure if you're in the area, stop by, buy some supplements, and we'll all appreciate it.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. I appreciate that, Professor. That's all cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Man. Well, Bobby, let's move on to one more. Oh, well, we got a couple more, but let's talk about your girl, Thunder Rosa.
I knew you was going to bring it up. She's got new outfits. She's in Japan. She's the first non-Japanese champion for this Thunder Rosa TJPW. I guess that the Japanese girls drawing a blank on the actual thing, but she won a title over there. She's been over for a few days. She's going to be over there. Of course, she's in the NWA. We've been following and tracking, and we'll talk some about that. But yeah, let's give her a shout out because, man, she's really been an up and comer in the last year of professional wrestling with the NWA, with all the stuff she done prior to that. But and the MMA stuff she done down in San Antonio. There's just something about her that you have to like, man. You got to dig her. Because she's believable. She's not all that big, but she's pure muscle, and she knows how to wrestle. She knows how to shoot. She knows how to work, and just something about her. And we've been contracting her, so I'm glad she had a very successful Japanese tour under her belt for this past week or so.
Yeah, no, you can tell just watching her move around in the ring and stuff. She's legit. She's strong, tough as hell, and fun to watch, and little easy on the eyes too.
Oh, very easy on the eyes, yeah, especially if you like that, Woo. Mm-hmm. Big shout out Thunder Rosa and to the NWA for that matter. That's good stuff right there, folks.
Absolutely.
Who else you got there?
Well, leading off the NWA real quick here, ever since Mr. Cornette was not pulled off, he resigned from the show.
Right.
Stu Bennett stepped in, Bad News Barrett, Wade Barrett was the name he wrestled under. Well, I've got a good friend over in London. He's a writer, director, producer, an actor, and his name's Sam Benjamin, and Sam actually did a movie with Stu Bennett, and Sam is a big American wrestling fan. He just started getting into old NWA stuff when I first met him a year or two back. He's done a series on YouTube you can find called The Few. It's a superhero web series, a lot of fun to watch. So I want to give a shout out to Sam. I don't even know if he listens to this show, but he used to listen to Geekish Cast, and he's been a guest on there a few times. So I want to give him and Stu Barrett a shout out for that fact.
Very cool. Very cool. There you go. So how about this? One more. How about the retirement of Jushin Thunder Liger? Let's bring that up real quickly. Probably the greatest junior heavyweight champion of all time, some say. Mm-hmm. Very successful, 30-some plus years in professional wrestling. Recently had a retirement match at the Wrestle Kingdom 14, which I'm going to watch. I stream it about every year after the fact. But I guess I don't have no guessing about all the fucking matches from what I've seen on highlights and stuff were very awesome as usual. But Jushin Thunder Liger had his retirement match here the last couple of days ago by the time you're listening to this podcast. And I had the pleasure of I was a fan of his, but I also had the pleasure of touring Australia with him way back in the day, and very businesslike. Of course, after that, I went to Japan several times. What a huge fucking star he is. But when I was in Australia, I got to watch him wrestle and work every night. And of course, that's been many, many years ago. But man, I don't know if he just done so much throughout the world of professional wrestling because he's one of those few people too that could do, the Japanese style, the Mexican style. He had went to the lucha style rather, and he went to Canada. He worked up there in Calgary, and he could also do the pro style many times with WCW. And I know he worked a couple matches with the other company there, but basically, he did do some stuff with WCW. But he was a huge star in Japan, so there's no need to really go. And throughout the world, I know he toured throughout the world. But I'm just happy to know that that I had the pleasure of seeing him in person night after night, and to see such a tremendous athlete. He was very big on conditioning, and I of course I admired that, but also his ring work every night was either him and Chris Benoit against each other, or Benoit and Jushin against the Malenkos, or Dean and Jushin Liger just tearing it fucking off, blowing the building up, man. To see them guys. I remember sitting in this crow's nest at this arena. And, man, his match it was him and Malenko, and they just tore the fucking house down, man. And I know he could do it night in and night out, and he still can, but congratulations on a very successful career. Probably the greatest junior heavyweight title holder in the world, Jushin Thunder Liger.
Yeah, and I believe he also has fought giant monsters, too.
Yeah. Well,
if the comic,
that's awesome.
If the comic,
yeah,
books
the comic,
maybe,
and I trying to think. I guess they presented the guy that the comic books, just drawing what I've seen off the weekend. They presented him with the flyers before the match. Flowers before the match, I guess, was a guy that the comic. However that works, Jeremy. You know more about that than I do. Yeah. What am I trying to say? The editor or producer of the comic.
Publisher, maybe. I didn't see who it was.
Yes. Yeah, but anyway, so it's always a big deal. It had 30,000 fucking fans live. So what's that tell you? It's a big event.
It's a huge event. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. I'm sorry. Anyway, you know what it is. Wrestle Kingdom 14, I guess, IWGP, huge New Japan show.
Yes, at which Tetsuya Naito became the IWGP World and Intercontinental Champion.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
I've seen just a little bit of footage of it, so I need to go watch it. That's what you're saying.
yes, that Okada, I love watching him wrestle. He is kind of a super badass. I know, the listeners to our show may not be huge Kenny Omega fans, but legitimately, in my opinion, some of the best matches put on in the last few years were Omega and Okada, and anybody that they'll set up to beat Okada or who can beat Okada deserves a big tip of the hat.
Yeah, well, I've seen some of the matches too with Omega, and I agree with you. And I know a good friend of mine is besides just mentioned Okada to me before. So yeah, hats off to is that Naito? Is that how you say it? I'm sorry.
I believe it's Tetsuya Naito. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Champion. There you go. I'm gonna watch that. Hopefully this week sometime, stream it or something. But yeah, what else we got going on? Anything before we move on?
Well, the one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give a big shout out to John Lee over in the UK. He kicked around and got a hold of me with what became this show's concept for the week. He wanted to focus more on specific fraudsters and charlatans and imposters. I don't like to raise people's profiles. We are going to talk about some regardless, but I really spun it in a way, and I believe it was also John's idea, that we could spin it in a way where we talk about signs of imposters and charlatans.
Okay, cool.
So John Lee over in the UK, thank you, John. Thank you he's been a longtime supporter of the show. So as we go into season 3, thank you very much, John.
Hey, John Lee, thank you very much, my friend. We appreciate you being a listener, a fan, and for sending us a great idea. And also, you can do the same. Hit Jeremy up at the Geekus Cast on Twitter. Hit me up at BobbyBlaze744. Hit the joint account up at Bell to Bell Blaze and leave us your ideas. We've already kicked some new things around for the next year of our podcast. We have some certain goals that the professional I've talked about off the air, in regards to this podcast. And we want your input, man. So, John Lee, thank you. And we can move on. Get ready, Jeremy. We're going to use the F word again.
Boy,
we're going to talk about some of these fake guys that have gotten into business. Again, we're not going to raise their profiles, but we're going to mention some people, and some of them you just go to other podcasts and we'll get into it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Hopefully you enjoy this episode, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what you got for me off the bat here? How are we going to do this? Signs of imposters here.
Yeah, and this is going to be a little looser. We're not going to be doing a list, quote unquote list. We're not going to bring it. We're going to kind of hopefully use this to start a conversation about some things. But, starting off my list of ways to spot an imposter or signs of imposters is they rely on things you trust and believe in to support their BS.
Yeah.
So they'll go and like get a playbill from something, and the barest of bullshit on it, use that as a way to support that they were there at this event.
Oh man. Well, at the beginning of the show, I said, "Hey Cecil, you're not the creeper." So I'm going to start right there. How about if you just go on and Twitter and social media nowadays, instead of getting your handbill and saying, "Hey, I was in that play," how about you go on and you're trying to throw punches at Dustin Rhodes, and then you miss by a fucking mile. So this is AEW. It's a guy that come on. I guess this guy comes on there and says it was me. I think his name's Eric is how you say it. I'm not going to give the profile on that, but man, I don't know how if the guy has not been trained, which we'll get to some of these people. Training is a big part of being in a world of professional wrestling. But how do you throw fake punches? I don't know if this Eric guy is the guy, but he claimed to be the guy. I don't even know if I fucking want to be claimed to be the guy. Couldn't throw a fucking punch at a certain camera angle. It doesn't matter the camera angle. I think you need to fucking connect. You need to be able to work, what have you. So let's just bury that right now. For all the stuff that's happened with AEW here recently, you saw the Dustin Rhodes footage where the guy's missing him by a fucking mile. I'm just going to start there. That guy's a fucking fraud. Whether he's the one in the ring that threw him under the hood, claiming to be a creeper or whatever, or the guy that come on social media going, "Hey, it was me." Well, you know what? Fuck you. Learn to fucking work, Jack.
Yeah, it's, I got to pull back a little bit because, again, I've never wrestled, and I've never thrown a fucking work punch in my life, but
you're a straight shooter.
Yeah. But I would figure at the very least you cover their head with your other hand and fucking whack that a few times.
There you go.
Yeah. And you don't miss by 3 goddamn feet, Now.
Oh, and the guy says he's trying to take care of him. Well, you know what? Take care of the fucking business. Dustin's been around a long time. He can take care of himself.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe some of that blame should go on the camera guys too.
Yeah, well, they'll get better at that, as everyone's going to say that. I know.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to totally shit on it, but yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Camera angles are important. The timing of it, and we've talked about some of that before, production values and stuff, that's going to only go up, we can hope, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And look, guys, camera guys are going to start switching shows. There's going to be guys who live closer to where something else is taped, or there's going to be a point where some of those guys at the WWE with all that experience are going to get coaxed off and go work somewhere else. There's too many venues for this work to go on. Somebody's going to jump ship, and through osmosis, some production value is going to leak out and get on the other products, which is better for us as fans.
I agree with you. And so we're talking about you said to rely on things that you trust, like a handbill or something, or, I was the one on TV, this and that. And that's kind of like, I guess, something you sent me here. I guess that's kind of like clout chasing. Like, I'm going to go in here and claim to be, and you've heard this before. I kind of shot you this, in a tweet the other day, about people I've met, like, the fake, Hawk, Tui. Dr. X that I met at a show up in West Virginia. It was a little old man. He was half-fast blind. He tried to say he was Dr. X back in the day, this, that. Of course, when you say Dr. X, we've had a podcast about, we know who Dr. X is, and you're thinking, Debbie Harry, wearing Dr. X t-shirt, that Dr. X that fucking was world-renowned, rather. And there's some little old guy that's just wanting to be in the back of a wrestling show, claiming to be a wrestler from back in the day. The same thing with the great Kabuki that I met over in England, that, there was no way, just one of those things where they're looking for, they're chasing something that's already passed, but also they never fucking lived it,
Yeah.
That's just kind of where I was going. I mentioned Kabuki and X, and I sent you this thing. There's a guy named he's passed away. He was Big Willie, and I know everyone get a little giggle out of that or whatever. He was a big, strong guy. He won a couple of local bench press contests back then, and he always claimed at all these shows the Road Warriors were brothers, and it was his uncles. And he was lucky to be in the back setting the ring up for the old NWA. Saying it wasn't even happening that way, but he had these fans convinced he was one of the wrestlers, one of the boys. He didn't know what the fucking one of the boys was,
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that they're just out there. They're trying to assume someone else's ID, like you said to me, right?
Yeah. Well, and in clout chasing as well, what I also meant with that is, like, you go and you get your pictures taken as a fan, maybe even you go and get your pictures taken with, say, like, the Boogie Woogie Man and a bunch of other people. And then you try to pass that off as like, oh yeah, see, I've worked with these guys.
Yeah. Wow.
Or
yeah.
you know what? This is funny, and I don't mean this to shit on Joey Janela because I'm afraid the guy slit my throat in an alley or something, but he's fucking crazy.
You're afraid of that little fucking?
No. I'm afraid of being snuck up.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But
Fritz, but
Fritz Von Moltke, it just popped up to the top of my Twitter feed. Fritz Von Moltke says, "Look at Joey Janela. In any other era, he'd been nothing more than enhancement talent, but now he buddies up to guys like Bix, David Bixen's fan." Who have a following. Guys like Bix are so happy that they've gained acceptance from one of the boys that it goes on from there. That is like the ultimate in clout chasing. I'm not even saying that's what Joey Janela has done. Joey Janela has built his own name. I mean, Jesus Christ went out and congratulated him at a wrestling match recently. That's a pretty big deal, right? But, that's kind of what I mean is like guys that get out there and, build some bullshit clout by getting a picture taken with The Rock. And then they're like going, oh yeah, see, I was in a tag team match with The Rock. And here's a picture from it. And Bobby, I'm sure you've run across shit like that.
Oh man, I run into it all the time. Like I said, I mentioned Big Willie and stuff, and then people come up to me and are like, they'll tell me that, they wrestle on a show with me. And I'm like, I don't know who you are, but I always know by the way someone approaches me, by the way they say my name, if they say Bob or Bobby or Bobby Blaze, what have you. And I'm like, most of the people, I do know a lot of people in my home area, but some people come up to me and they want to tell me, yeah, I remember we used to work out together back in the day. And I'm like, man, you like never my workout partner. Don't know you from Adam, but yeah. And I believe their story because, maybe I told you before, do you know how many times I wrestled Ric Flair? 0. But people come up and tell me all the time, I just had to learn to go with it. They tell me how they saw me working and wrestling Ric Flair. And the second one is the Macho Man. And it got so far-fetched that people was telling me, like, you remember I was at that show. I was the one that stood up and threw a snow cone at the Macho Man when he was beating you up and he chased me. I'm like, I just learned to go with it because they're going to tell their own. They're going to spin their own story. Well, that's what's happening. These wannabe wrestlers, these people assume someone else's name. Like, hey, and I was making this name up. So if your name's Jimmy Jones out there, sorry, but hey, I'm Jimmy Jones. And I wrestled back in the day for NWA. And again, we're not going to build up these profiles, but I'm just going to throw this one out here. Tex sent us this one, like that Super Tramp guy. I watched that video. Okay. I wrestled all over Canada. Never heard the guy. And that's the guy that, is going to tell you, while I was around back in the 70s and there's no pictures of me. And, they just make up this shit, man. They're delusional. They're delusional. The fans, we want to believe it as fans, like, oh, this guy was a wrestler, or I saw you on TV. But they make up these guys make up their own fucking backgrounds about how, you know what, Jeremy? You know what I did, Professor? I wore a mask and I wrestled against the Macho Man. You probably didn't see me. And I did this, and I'm trying to build up my own, fucking bullshit story.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I mentioned that Super Tramp because Tex did send us that video, and I guess that, again, try not to build his profile, but you can check that one out. I know we got some more to get to, but that's just one that comes to mind.
And one of them is, and I'm not going to get into particular names here, but say like you wrestle under a really generic name, like, oh, I don't know, the Hangman. And you've made a bullshit career for yourself for the last 40 years, claiming to have, I don't know, let's say body slammed Andre the Giant, been an NWA world champion.
Yeah.
And your number one evidence is pulling up a bill that has the Hangman with no actual name underneath it and go, see, guys, right there, it's like me claiming to be, the mass superstar, and fuck, prove I'm not.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I done a show, my very first match, I'm not trying to pull wool over anyone's eyes here. My first match way back September 11th, 1988, over in Hayside, Virginia. I won a Super Destroyer 3 under a mask. There's no fucking Super Destroyer 3, but how many people else have probably done a Super Destroyer 3 gimmick? And we know there's a Super Destroyer or what have you. But, like that Hangman, let's go with that. I know a guy that told me originally he was going to train me back in the day that he used to be one of the Hangmen down in Tennessee. And how many Hangmen have come and gone, because this is not the particular one you're talking about, but I've met the Texas Hangman. I met the one that was local that claimed to be a Hangman back in the day down in Tennessee, to the one that, hangs out. Jimmy Valiant, who's a great guy. I love Jimmy Valiant, the handsome Jimmy Valiant. We talked about, we put him over in the show before. And I guess this guy's claim to fame is like he's in the Boogie Woogie Hall of Fame, and he goes to these shows, and I've seen him, and I've shaken his hand, but he's never told me, but I know all this shit online where he's, again, this is going, probably go listen to the 605 if you want to know more about who we're talking about on that one. But how can you go in there and say, you beat Harley Race for the NWA title back in the 70s, and you never fucking probably left the state that you was born in? I don't know.
Yeah.
And they, like you said, slammed Andre the Giant or whatever. They make this bullshit stories up. I don't know where I'm going with that, but that's just one. And I mentioned the 605 because that's where I first heard about it. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I fucking met that guy before.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize I was meeting wrestling royalty,
Yeah. Well, there's
okay,
this
Jeremy.
thing. There's this thing that, hey, there's one for the working man right there.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Believe I will.
Yeah. Well, there's this thing that happens. Now, my dad served in Vietnam, and, I never had to serve in the Army because guys my dad's age fucking ended the draft by being in such an unpopular fucking war and getting called a baby killer when they came home, right? Well, we had some guys run for office here in California and in other places as well, but the ones I remember were here, who would call themselves a Vietnam veteran. And then it turned out the cocksuckers were at it turned out the guys were at some base in Florida during the Vietnam War, shit like that, and it's just that, like, trying to get credit for some shit somebody else did, and it just makes me crazy. And wrestling sets itself up for it because, look, I mean, especially back in the territory days, a guy could show up to wrestle in a match and be like, fuck yeah, I've wrestled all over California. Yeah, down in LA, I'm all over the place. Right. And now you're in Missouri and they don't have any contacts in California. You don't know who to check with. They're like, all right, get in the fucking ring. And, some of these guys, I mean, a couple guys have been killed doing this. A couple guys have been hurt really bad doing this. And a couple guys have hurt people really bad doing this. Yeah. And it people, oh, who cares? It's whatever. No, when you do shit like this, people do get hurt. There is a consequence to passing yourself off as something you're not. And I don't care if it's wrestling. I don't care if it's selling fake medicine or being a bullshit business guru.
Too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or selling bullshit medicine. People get hurt because other people are full of shit.
Yeah. And I know where you're going with that. I'm going to go back to that 1 second too. Mm-hmm. So I think the main one probably is like, the mass transit. I'll just say it. I guess he was doing the Ralph Cramden thing. He's a young, underage kid back in the day, against New Jack. And New Jack's not someone you want to fuck with, man.
No.
But I guess him and this other, I can't even think of his partner, but he had basically I don't know how you do this, Paul Heyman. I don't know how you call that guy, but he did that. He faked his age and he faked his training that he was killed by Killer Kowalski. And, he gets in the ring and he's underage and New Jack, got him, I gigged him, and, the kid's 17 years old, but yeah, I guess he severed a couple of arteries and fucking bled out in the ring, basically. Yep. So yeah, people could fucking get hurt or die doing that. And I think to an extent, as wrestling fans, sometimes you want to believe that, this guy that lives down the street is the guy that was he wrestled as whatever, the Super Destroyer number 3, or I had some kids come by just a couple years ago, did you wrestle as Spider-Man, used to, and I was like, that's not me. It was some goof down another street, not my street, but he's been on some independent show and tried to impress some kids with some kind of gimmick match, we'll just say Spider-Man, but you know what I'm saying, it's one of those things, but this guy never went anywhere, never done anything, never did anything, but had these fucking young kids convinced, he wrestled under a mask, because again, I'm just throwing Spider-Man after, no digs against Spider-Man because he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, and back to that mass transit thing. So you can get fucking hurt, man. You can get killed. That guy could have bled out. And I know his name. I've got a little bit of research on him, cause I did some on it, believe it or not. And, I know he's now deceased, but man, that's just terrible to want that kind of glory, that you're willing to do that, but the fans also feed into it too. Like, I want to believe that guy. And that guy, I guess that night, that fucking, mass trans, I guess he fucking, learned to believe in it really quick. So, I don't know.
And I don't know if people think, wrestling's bullshit, therefore, well, fucking New Jack's gigged a whole bunch of motherfuckers in a bad way.
I've seen him go off before, believe me. You don't want to be on the receiving end of that.
You do not want to be on the business end of a knife that New Jack is holding. Ever.
Right, yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, I wouldn't try. I didn't want to gig myself, let alone someone else fucking gig me, man. No way. No, but that's your delusion of grandeur too. Like, I want to be at an ECW wrestling show, Jeremy, and Paul Heyman's going to hire me, or I'm going to be on the Smoky Mountain show, and Jim Cornette's going to hire me, or I'm going to fucking be in a WWE tomorrow because Vince is going to hire me, and I'm telling you all this stuff because I've got this delusion that I'm going to be, or I was that guy under the hood, or whatever, or the mask, or the Crimson fucking mask, Jack.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know. I know. Just keep going. Feed me something, whatever you want, man. We're just having fun. Hopefully, everyone's enjoying the podcast. They probably expected a top 10, but this is what they're getting.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's New Year's. We haven't done as much. Matter of fact, I kind of outsourced my research to my lady friend this week. And,
shout out to the lady friend.
Yep. But, I want to focus on one here for a second that I just, every time, Nate over at Weidman posts this guy's videos all the time. Okay. And it makes me batty seeing this fucking sunken chest, slack-jawed motherfucker getting thrown through barbed wire tables and shit. This what do they call him? Super humming? I guess.
Well,
Humman.
I checked this just so you know. Yes, he was following me, believe it or not, on Twitter. You can probably believe that. I know, because I got a fucking shitload of people that follow me, and I follow a shitload back, because that's my only social media at Bobby Blaze 744. Well, I blocked him because I got tired of seeing a motherfucker jump off a back porch somewhere on a microwave or onto a refrigerator, saying he's doing an elbow drop, so and so style or Macho Man style or whatever he's doing. I just had to block him. Yes, it's. I think it's. I double checked. I've got him blocked because I got tired of seeing that shit. But I know Nate. Hey Nate, Tim, all you guys, TR out there, Wild Men Can't Jump. Jeremy, I couldn't stomach it anymore, man.
No, I have trouble watching it. You know, I got to tell you. So
is it humming or superhuman? I think it's supposed to be superhuman, but I think it is humming. Wait, maybe he needs to eat some more fucking hummus. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, the way it's spelled is humming. I don't know how he wants to pronounce it. My son was over here a while back, and his grandfather is going through some really nasty surgeries, and Micah was explaining the scar that his grandfather has to me. And I winced, and I was like, oh, God. He goes, I know, it made my butthole hurt. He goes, I don't even know how that works. But as soon as he said that, I'm like, I understand. I can't explain it, but I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Watching this poor fucker get thrown through willingly get thrown through tables and doing stupid shit kind of makes my butthole hurt, Bobby.
Yeah, I'm with you. Should I unblock him and follow him again, or no?
That's up to you. I kind of thought about unfollowing Nate one time because I was sick of seeing him repost these.
Yeah, no, I did it because he kept he tagged me a couple of things, and I was like, I didn't know the guy, I don't know him personally. I mean, he could be from the hollers of Kentucky for all I know. But I did, cause I just got cringeworthy fucking, like you said, butthole hurting. Like, I don't want to see that shit, man.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? The other thing is, unless it's something, unless it's something, I want to see, don't fucking tag me in your posts. Unless you know for a fact, like, oh, hey, Jeremy would love this. Don't fucking tag me in your posts. Yeah. I had somebody do that one time and ended up in some racist shit. And I'm just like, I unfollowed everybody, blocked everybody, and then, I was just kind of like, fuck all you guys. Don't ever fucking tag me in this shit.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So who we going to go? I tell you what, dude, I'm going to you mentioned the guy earlier. I'm going to just as a reference point, okay?
Yeah.
There's a really good article I found. It's on the cageseats.com. And you'll probably have to help me with the pronunciation because you know me, I'm going to fuck someone's name up as sure as can be. But it's David Bixenpan. Is that his Bixenpan?
David Bixenpan, yeah.
He talks a story. Yes. Okay. So you mentioned earlier, he's got the story of the fake Stan Lee and other fake imposter wrestling stars. And it's a little bit older article, but on it, as you and Tex and myself were tweeting, direct messaging privately, it talks about the fake Stan Lee. Okay, or Stan Lane, rather. I'm sorry. Yeah. Excuse me. Should not mention Stan Lee in the same name as fake, first of all. Sorry. Stan Lane. Apologize there. Okay. But, so it's this wrestler down at Memphis. He passed away way back in, 2010 or 11 there. And for 20 years of life, he claimed to be, one of the fabulous ones was Stan Lane. And blah, blah, blah. It's a really good article because what I was going to reference is in the article, for people want to know, some of these people were not raising their profiles up, but it talks about like Gorgeous George III, not the third, I apologize for that. Gorgeous George, this guy claimed to be, George, the Gorgeous George from back in the day. We put him over on our show. The Gorgeous George, yes. It talks about, it's just a really good article. It talks about the Corporal Krishner, the fake guy, I guess, the one out of Maryland that claimed to be Leatherface and someone else and all these different names, whatever, that we're talking about. But the one I was getting at is like, I don't know how this, we already mentioned Hangman and stuff. So all those things can be found on there. But like this guy goes through, I don't know how you do this, Jeremy, is where I'm getting out this, trying to spit it out for you.
Sure.
Where you go in your life for 20 years, you've claimed to your wife or to your kids or to even family members, I guess, let alone just fans. But hey, I wrestled as, Bobby Blaze back in the 90s and early 2000s or something like that. And you live your life for 20 fucking years doing that to the day you die.
Yeah.
And you faked out people saying, well, I actually stopped wrestling, we'll say the year like 1983, because that's when the Fabs like really started getting over huge. And that's whose persona you take on. You tell some woman that's gullible enough to fucking believe you. And of course, I know that's before all the social media shit, but I'm just thinking, how do you fucking even live that lie? Now, I know other people's probably done it, but that just comes to mind like, how do you fucking lay down at night thinking, I'm that guy that You never stepped foot in a fucking ring. You bought a ticket to a wrestling show one time in your life. And maybe you snuck in a whole bunch of others, but you're not the fucking wrestler. You're certainly not a Stan Lane or Killer Kowalski or fucking Jimmy Superfly Snuka, whoever you claim to be.
Yeah.
Just throwing names out at you, coming off the top of my head. How does someone do that? What is that? Is that still your delusion of grandeur? Because I know we're going to get to here's another E word I'm going to spit, Jeremy. I was in entertainment.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, thank you. Spit good. And I know we're going to get to eventually the fixation on your enemies, but this delusion of grandeur, like how do these people even do that, man? What the fuck's up? Are people that fucking lost in our world right now in society in this country? I don't even know. I'm sure it happens. That's nothing. I'm sure it happens in other fucking country because I met the great Kabuki over in fucking England.
Yeah.
How many guys, if I understood Japanese better, how many guys I know what introduced themselves in the back saying, hey, I was so-and-so back. And I'm like, yeah, bow to them, whatever. It has to happen in other places besides the United States and Canada. I'm sure it's happened somewhere in Mexico if all the fucking luchadors that wear masks. I'm sure someone's down there sitting on a corner going, I was so-and-so back in the day,
Yeah.
In Spanish, of course.
Yeah, well, and, it doesn't just happen in wrestling. It happens in entertainment because entertainment in general is an easy mark, because people want to be in on the in crowd, man. They want to be with the cool kids. And there's that loss, they call that the sunk cost fallacy. Once you're in for a penny, man, you're in for a pound. Once you've let yourself get bullshitted, you don't want the bullshit to come out. You want to believe what you believe. You can't have been wrong,
Yeah.
So yeah,
talking about the embellishment, using someone else. Here's the thing too. I think here's an easy way. Go back to a fraud, or if a wrestler says, "Hey, do you want my autograph?" Well, they're probably not a fucking wrestler. I've never went to anyone, and I know a shitload of professional wrestlers I don't think's ever said, "Hey, you want my autograph?" No. Usually the fans, if they're a fan, they'll come up and say, "Hey, can I have an autograph, or can I get a picture with you, or what have you?" So I think that's an easy way to identify someone, that says, I was in a wrestling, "Hey, you want my autograph?" It's kind of like, you ever seen Dickie Roberts where it's fucking David Spade, he's talking to Leif Garrett at the beginning, the girls come up, and he's like, "Aren't you Leif Garrett?" And he's like, "Yeah." And they give him your autograph. And he goes, and David Spade goes, "You want my autograph?" And of course he's playing Dickie Roberts. He goes,
"Yeah."
They go, "No." He goes, "I'll pay you $5, $20. If you're someone that says, "Hey, Jeremy, you want my autograph?" You're like, "No." And I'm like, "Hey, Jeremy, I'll pay you $5. Well, you might hold out to 20. I don't know. But a wrestler's not going to fucking say to you, "Do you want my autograph?"
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Nowadays, let's do it. How about a selfie? Let's get the fucking selfie out. And well, no, because that'd ruin my gimmick. That'd ruin my image. I don't want my picture taken because I'm not really a wrestler. But, if you got a mask on, you can say, "Well, back in the day, I wore a wrestling mask. I'm not doing pictures a day."
Yeah, that's totally me. But, I don't show up on film. And, Bobby, there was a time that my dad dressed like a cowboy all the time. And there was a time they had a friend down in L.A. who had a daughter who was on fucking Dallas or one of those shows back in the 80s.
Okay.
So my dad gets invited to this party with his wife and this lady that they were friends with. And my dad ends up signing autographs because nobody wouldn't believe he wasn't in Westerns in the 70s.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
There you go, man. How cool is that, though?
And he just got
got over that day.
Yeah, he just got tired of saying no and kind of started going with it, getting his picture taken and signing shit for people. And,
exactly. Yeah. So that's the thing with the Macho Man and the Ric Flair stories is people. My brother and one of my other friends, they would tell me, you just have to you have to go with it because that's their story. They're not going to believe you didn't really wrestle Ric Flair or the Macho Man. That's just two that come to mind that I hear a lot about that I've just finally said, yeah. And I always say this, well, who won the match? And they say, well, Ric Flair beat you. I'm like, of course. I said, I remember now. Yeah. Of course. And I'll say, did he beat me with figure four? Did I tap out? What happened? They go, yeah, you submitted. Or they go, you got to the ropes that one time. I'm like, yeah, okay. I don't know what fucking match you're watching, but it wasn't me, pal.
Boy, did I ever.
Like, your dad just kept signing the autographs because no one didn't want to not believe he was not a cowboy star in the Westerns in the 70s.
That's it. That's it. You get caught up in your own story and you will not let it go. That's why these people can get away with being full of shit, I think,
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Yeah. I don't know. Where do we go from here, Jeremy?
Well, you know what? This one is kind of interesting to me because fixation on enemies. It's like so somebody starts to poke a hole. Somebody starts to poke a hole in their little balloon of bullshit, And now all of a sudden you'll start seeing enemies lists and, threats and, I don't know, Facebook posts that, shit on Brian from the 605 and things like that. But, and it's kind of funny because, it's not just wrestlers. There's other people that, get singled out by somebody like, hey, you're full of shit. And the next thing you know, man, there's an enemies list and like threats of, hey, I'm going to get you like this, or you don't want me to reveal what I know about you stuff, and things like that start coming. And I don't, the way I was reading about this earlier was that when you get into this like fixation on an enemy, it almost is a way for them to aggrandize themselves again, because they can in their heads or try to make themselves seem merciful by not hitting you with whatever bullshit threat they've got. I could do this, but I'm a bigger man, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, and I saw a couple doing the research. I saw a couple on, we'll just throw out the Hangman list. We'll just say that list. He had so many fucking enemies, like, that, and I'm sure we'll be blocked, and I don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck,
I'm just saying, I'm sure, right now, whoever listens to this podcast, and if they're on his side, because we're the enemy now, because we've exposed someone for being someone they're not, if you will. We'll probably end up on these fucking enemy lists, just so you know.
Yeah, that's okay.
So, for the record, find Jeremy at the Geekish Cast, find me at Bobby Blaze 744, and block me or whatever. But I'm all about, hey, I don't want to fucking start a bunch of shit on my Twitter because I love my Twitter account. But you know what? If I'm blocked, I'm blocked. Like I said, I blocked the super humming or whatever, the human whatever earlier because I just didn't want to see that. Well, if you block me because, you're a quote, professional wrestler and we know you're an imposter or whatever, that's fine. I don't, go to the Bell to Bell Blaze podcast and bitch there because Jeremy will answer it and I probably won't see it. And if I do, I don't want to see it and I'll block you again, block you right back or whatever.
You'll be on double secret probation and double
yes,
blocked. Yeah,
that's right, man. Fuck yeah. But, anyway, yeah. Let's just, you know what, Jeremy, I'm just going to throw this out at you. Here's something that's not, get around with spit, just so you know. Here's something that's not fake. Tui. Yeah, there you go. I got a couple books out, okay? And it talks about a lot of these things. And of course, it's not going to talk about, this particular, what we're talking about on this subject or what have you. But on my books, if you like this podcast, we hope you did. Welcome to 2020. We're having a good time. We're going to come back. We got a couple ideas for new top 10s that we're going to work around. We gave all our shout outs, whatever. I'm just going to say a couple things and I'll let the professor take us out of here. So, Jeremy, I got a couple books. And if you want to help out this podcast, go get a book off Amazon. Here's an easy way to do it. And the podcast gets a little bit of kickback is what I'm trying to spit out. So if you want my first book, Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boostable Travel, here's a little shortcut. Go to tinyurl.com/blazebook1. That's my first book. It's got 104, 105 reviews maybe, all pretty positive, and I appreciate that because I appreciate all reviews, honest reviews. If you say Bobby sucks, you know what? That might be true. I may suck, but it's none of your fucking business who I suck and what I suck. I'm just saying this. At least put the work over in my book. If you like the book, you like the book. If you don't, you don't. Leave me a review. Hopefully thumbs up it, whatever. My second book, I kicked out on 2, The Educational Wrestler. Again, if you want to help out the podcast, the Bell to Bell Bobby Blaze podcast, we're building this great thing up here. We're having fun with it. Just get this second book. It's my most recent one. I'm working on a third. We'll see if time will tell if I get the third one out. But it's basically tinyurl.com/blazebook2. That'll take you to the links. Use the links. The show gets a little bit of kickback, and I appreciate it. I know the professor does because it does help offset our co-hosting fees. We're not borrowing. I might steal only from, I don't know. Well, what's that? No, I'm not going to steal. I don't like liars and thieves. I'm not stealing anything. So we're not trying to rob you blind. It's a way to help support the show. Again, it's tinyurl.com/blazebook1 for Pin Me, Pay Me, or tinyurl.com/blazebook2 for I kicked out to the Educated Wrestler. And Jeremy, happy fucking New Year.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have another beer in just a few minutes, just so you know.
Hey,
Melanie, get ready, because I don't know where the fuck you go from here.
Well, what is this? This is going to be number 3, right?
I guess, man. Yeah. Who's counting? They're sitting over here. Yeah, number 3. I might do a shot, too. Who the fuck knows?
Oh, Lordy. Well, this day's getting off to a big start. Well,
yeah.
So, everybody, what I kind of wanted to do without really raising, and we ended up, I'm sure, talking about one person a whole bunch, because there's no way not to when it comes to talking about fucking charlatans and pro wrestling. And Bobby, I got a little confession.
Oh, fuck. Well, I'm not a priest, but I'll listen to it.
Okay. Well, I don't actually have a doctorate. I don't actually have a doctorate in grappleology.
Oh, fuck. Did you Funay our fucking accolades at the beginning of the show?
Mm-hmm.
Did you blow them out of proportion?
I did a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you are a professor, though. You got the PhD in something, dude.
It's an honorary degree, but yeah.
Honorary degree.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can have the PhD. I got the PhD of hard knocks. I don't know.
There you go. There you go.
Been hit in the head too many fucking times. I probably forgot more than I know. And, we just hope you enjoyed the show on these imposters and frauds in the pro wrestling business. And, what'd you say? Imposter, frauds, and charlatans?
Yes, sir. Imposters, frauds, and charlatans.
People that are fucking hot to it, fake in the wrestling business. Spit on them.
We don't use that word around here very, very lightly. Not at all.
So if you heard the F word or the E word to this show, please brush your teeth, use some mouthwash, spit it out. We don't want to hear them on this show because we're all about keeping it real and having a good fucking time. And we hope you enjoyed the show. And I'm looking forward to this whole 2020 in the podcast. Let's see what happens.
Oh, right? Yeah, absolutely. Guys, I want to throw out there real quick, just for shits and giggles. If you've got a local story about some charlatan, fraud, or imposter in your local wrestling market, or maybe somebody in your state that you've heard of, or, you know what, I'm going to open this one up even more. Some bullshit wrestling school where a guy who had no fucking business, a guy who had no fucking business running a wrestling school opened a school. Please let us know. Get on Twitter, shoot us some info, share your story, because maybe this will become a little segment we can do once a month to just talk about.
Oh, that'd be fun, man. That's a good idea. That's why you're the fucking professor.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I'd love to do that. Bobby, you got anything to say before we wrap up?
No, man. I know we had fun with it. I appreciate you taking time to record it. I know you take a lot of time in editing and recording and editing and producing the show. So, thank you very much. We've gotten 18 months under our belt. We're starting season 3, episode 1 today. Let's just make these next 12 to 18 months happen and see what's happening from there. And thank you very much for everything you've done for me and for the podcast, and to the wrestling fans and the people that do listen to it. We do appreciate you. And hit us up on our Twitter at Bell to Bell Blaze and give us some more ideas. We'll have fun with it. Thanks very much.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to
I was just going to say, just so you know, all kidding aside, I'm going to get real serious for like 2 seconds here. I know it's a hard world. We just got through the holidays. Thankfully, we got through them all. If you're listening to this podcast, you got through them. It's a new year. People, do me a favor. Take care of each other out there. Show some love. Show some kindness. Be good to each other, man. The world's fucking hard enough as it is. Some places in the Western Hemisphere it's fucking cold, it's wet, it's rainy, it's snowy. You may get down, you may get depressed or whatever. Try not to be too down on yourself. Try not to judge yourself too hard. Show some love, show some kindness, and just be good to each other out there. You know, I'm always try to say that when I can get that in, Jeremy, because I do think it's so important for our listeners and for you and for myself as well, because we talk a little bit off air, and sometimes you just got to be there to live it. And when you get through it, man, just show some kindness and show some love.
That's right. Or as I always say, just don't be a dick. Yeah. All right, everybody, for Bobby Blaze and myself, Professor Jeremy Vilmer, thank you for listening to Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.